Singapore, the once lawless swamp, is now the crown jewel of Southeast Asia. And it also happens to be hosting Breakpoint this year. So we flew the 18 hours to meet up with some colorful characters, make friends with locals, and of course, sample some delicious street food.
Am I covered in sweat right now?
This is Breakpoint Singapore.
I have a question for you. We're at Breakpoint. We're in Singapore. What are you most excited for this week?
Yeah, I don't know, I've been in crypto for 4 years now, and I've made really good friends over the internet with these people and genuine relationships. So it's cool to once a year come back and just compound on those relationships even more.
Yep.
That's what I'm most excited about. Do a roasted chicken rice. What was that?
Veggies, vegetable.
Yeah.
$7, $10.
I love chicken rice, dude. I've been reading this textbook on Singapore for the past year, From Third World to First, popular book that Lee Kuan Yew wrote. So I've been nerding out on it, so it's cool to come here and be a snob about all the facts and nobody knows about the Green Initiative. Telling everyone all these things. I think it's cool. It's the epitome of top down, which is it worked for them. I'm a bottoms up guy though. Miami, Tokyo, New York City, these sorts of this definitely used to be this feels like a bottoms up sort of in the 70s it was probably more bottoms up. It's cool.
How did you get started in Solana? And I actually don't even know the story. How do you know Toly?
Yeah, I first met Toly actually on a camping trip with a mutual friend that I worked with when I was in health tech.
We're here on the outskirts of Chinatown with Solana's janitor to talk about where Solana's come from and where it's going.
So my background was in health tech for 7 years. And this person was a particle physicist. He was on the Higgs boson paper. He's the smartest guy I knew.
Okay.
And he only hung out with really smart guys. And so the first time I met Toly was we went to Point Reyes and went camping. And I don't think he would have even remembered me, but I remembered him because he was just a really nice guy. Really deeply cared about what he was building, and he was super intense. And I just like people like that.
So can maybe you back up for 1 second and explain what Solana is, but also why you chose Solana?
Yeah. So I think at this point, most people, even outside of crypto, know Bitcoin. Bitcoin is digital gold with a ledger that tracks the movement of that digital gold. Ethereum was really the first general purpose smart contract platform that's like Bitcoin, but instead of a ledger for just one asset, it's a ledger for any asset, and it's a ledger that you can use to launch permissionless programs. When Solana started, the biggest problem in crypto was that Ethereum didn't scale. And I think, it still has a lot of issues with its scalability. And when you're building something that's made to disintermediate marketplaces, so it's meant to relieve the need for trusting an intermediary for a market to take place, if that thing is expensive, or if it's slow, or if it's not able to scale, you're really limiting your ability to get out of the way of those markets once they exist. So Solana's goal was and always will be to bring the cost and latency of a blockchain network down as close to zero as possible. And we always want to find that physical limitation. A lot of the time it's the speed of light around the world for something like consensus, or it might be, what's the cost of the bare metal for all the validator nodes underpinning the network, kind of like miners in Bitcoin. And so we want to reach those physical limits with the cost and latency of the network. And then the other important design decision was to not use sharding. So we're not splitting up the network into many networks that are interoperable in order to scale. That's sort of the last thing you should do, not the first thing. Instead, it was just all optimization, and it was bringing a bunch of distributed systems principles and really great engineers to the problem.
Can you maybe talk about those early days and some hurdles that you guys had to overcome, but then kind of wrap it up with, where we're going? What do you want to see in the next 5 years for Solana?
Yeah, I think the early days, one of the most striking moments was after probably 6 to 8 months of, DeFi summer and, Serum and order books being built on Solana and all the borrowing lending protocols and the hackathons. There was just so much great work put towards DeFi. But the first time 250,000 users all came onto the network at the same time, and we knew we had product market fit, was DGen Ape Academy's like NFT, release. And it was just so clear that the performance mattered for something we couldn't have predicted it would matter for. And that was a really delightful moment. It's surprising, it's shocking. There's tons of all-nighters pulled at that point to, make sure that launch went well. But that's what you kind of crave, And I still think we haven't seen maybe even the beginnings of like what the next really big, really intense product market fit for the network is going to look like, and what the use case is going to be. So I'm really always hesitant to say, oh, it's talk about consumer crypto or DePIN or any of these specific things, or like PayFi. I think these are all really interesting visions. They're interesting verticals, but I'm always thinking, what's that next vertical that doesn't have a name yet? And that's where I think like early stage builders should be positioning themselves, is not towards, not against like trends that have a name, but a problem that if you solve it, you could kind of create a new vertical.
That's right. Here we go. He's funny.
We're here with Toly from Solana, Lucas from Jito, and Mert from Helius to talk everything high throughput blockchains and the future of Solana Mobile. But we're also here to eat some of the best chicken rice in the city.
So let's talk about like what's coming up for Solana. What the future looks like. We have, well, actually, you tell me. What are you excited about?
I mean, personally, I've been working on mobile, so I'm excited for the second phone, Chapter 2, and like getting the hardware out in the hands of people. It was a weird experiment to get like 20,000 devices, and it was a slog. Like every startup, it feels like it's gonna fail until it doesn't. And now with both of them together, 160,000 units is like pretty decent size for like an ecosystem, for like especially for crypto. So I'm excited to see like once the device is in people's hands, are people actually going to start writing dApps that consume tokens, get like the whole crypto gaming, fun entertainment ecosystem going, or not? Like everything is out there. Like there's enough stuff there for the whole experiment to succeed until on.
What was the hardest part about the second phone?
Like building the second one.
Well, I mean, the hardest part is undoubtedly going to be getting developers to build mobile-first apps. Any thoughts around that?
Yeah, that is. So like,
More airdrops.
devs love the idea of no fees in the mobile app store. That is just like a really easy thing to sell them on. What they don't like is the small number of users. So the hope is that like it's easier with crypto devs because they're used to like small number of users. So like games like Parallels, they were like immediately like, oh yeah, 100% we're doing it. What do we need to help? Traditional game companies is just a much harder to sell, but like I think you gotta like get one domino over, and if they can see that there's revenue there, they'll get it.
Yeah. So how do you start that flywheel though? How do you start that flywheel? How do you get the users?
It's a good question.
Because you have to build the apps that people like, right?
This is like why I think crypto might be like the easier play, and like the way that I think the bigger companies could start messing around here is like have their like weird like crypto diehard team that's the innovation team inside, you know, Epic or whatever, to go build one of their games like as a different brand. Don't even associate it with like the main brand or anything like that. Just go try and experiment. But the new phone is way better in every dimension. It's lighter. The seed vault is better integrated. There should be like literally no additional clicks or thumbprint scans that you need to do. It should just be like Apple Pay, like really, really slick experience. Like the whole wallet is integrated through and through. The display is awesome. It's like a top tier display. Battery life should be really good. So it's more affordable. It's cheaper. It's like everything. Everything is better. It's like a true. 100%. We should get the most improved device award.
From Marquez. Yeah, we'll send it to him when we're ready.
What are some like protocols or products or applications that you guys want to see built that are missing from Solana?
Want to see built that are missing?
Yeah, like applications.
Okay, so my answer to this is almost always SocialFi. I think as a category, because like you take these three things, you take Solana's kind of community and social layer as being quite strong, but also unified because it's not fragmented across a bunch of different ecosystems, it's just one ecosystem. So there's a strong social layer. There's also the consumer focus with mobile, because consumer has to be on mobile in some sense. And then you take things like, ZK compression, which makes working with tokens much, much cheaper. And then there's also a bunch of built-in token programs. You take all those things and it's very unclear to me why there's not a thriving SocialFi ecosystem. It honestly still boggles my mind, and I think that's going to be the next breakout thing.
So, I mean, I've heard you talk about more social apps, building the social layer. What do you think needs to be built?
I want to see more social apps that have less of a speculation component to it. I think it's hard though, like.
Yeah, what is that? Is that like a Strava on?
Oh yeah, like a moon. What is it?
Moonwalk.
Yeah, Moonwalk.
Yeah. Okay.
Or snowboarding. That would be awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I've talked to a lot of people about this, and probably the number one app I use is Strava. So like I've started using Moonwalk. It only counts my steps though. Like it doesn't count me cycling or whatever. So is that coming? And yeah. So anyway, for me personally, like fitness apps would be awesome to have.
Yeah. Step-in was like.
That was awesome.
Obviously not. Wasn't sustainable for a variety of reasons, but I feel like that like kind of broke out of like the crypto like orbit into like normal people were talking about it.
They gave me like a bunch of free shoes, and I was like, how am I going to open this? Yeah. And then turns out they're worth quite a bit.
They're worth a lot. Yeah, I mean, that was amazing because, like you said, that brought a lot of normies. Some of my friends who were very, maybe just crypto curious got into it because they figured out that they could buy some shoes, go on a 30-minute walk, and make, $30 or $40 or whatever it was. It's like totally worth it.
Now that we have a firm grasp on where Solana came from, thanks to Raj, and where it's going, thanks to these three, it's time to visit the Manlet Mecca, a place where we all get together once a year to accelerate our ideas and push our industry forward. Breakpoint.
For those that don't know, restaking is essentially just the assets of, it's a process of staking assets to secure a network. And I put the re here because Jito restaking lets you stake any asset.
The one that interests me the most is async execution. I think Solana was the reason why I got Solana build, and I think a lot of people got Solana build, whether you know it or not, is because of Solana's block propagation through Turbine is the blocks get streamed out as opposed to a validator building an entire block and then posting it out once the block's built. I think that was a step function improvement over previous networks, and I think the next improvement is going to be async execution.
It's been incredible watching Solana evolve from an idea to now pushing the bleeding edge of Web3 tech without losing its grasp on culture.
Just I guess what I've been reminded of, that's the right term for it. Okay, I guess what I've been reminded of this week is just how cool people are in this industry. Like we were talking about it earlier, Lucas and Zano and Mert and everyone that you come in contact with, they are genuinely good people who care about not only the industry at large, but just like people on an individual level, and they're very kind, and that's pretty cool. This time in Singapore has actually been my favorite time in Singapore. This time I realized that Singapore is a good mix of like modern and traditional, and so there's like this great feeling of like you're on the edge of what a city could potentially be without losing its identity or culture. Because it's like you are on one side of the street, you have these glass skyscrapers, you go to the other side of the street, and you're in Chinatown with these old buildings from way back in the day. And I feel like Singaporeans have it is really interesting now that I am saying this out loud, but they've kind of retained their culture while at the same time pushing the boundaries of what a modern city is. And it just works.